Most of the time, the Wheels Garage is a mass of pretty sexy machinery. AMGs, Porsches, V8 Commodores, anything else we feel we should thoroughly investigate. But for my long-termer, I decided for a ute.
Yep, it is a garden variety load lugger. You can chuck up to 1.1 tonnes in the back, there are leaf springs, and you can belt over just about any terrain without having to slow down.
So a pretty useful device then. Well, that's what utes are about, usefulness, being able to throw whatever you want in the back, go off-road, bring the family with you if you want, and do all that sort of stuff in one all-encompassing vehicle. The only trick is that sort of usefulness does come with compromises, and in the case of the BT-50 and indeed all its competitors, it's with the way it drives. It's pretty lurchy through the corners and it bounds around a fair bit over bumps. You sort of get the impression it'd be a lot better if you could chuck a whole bunch of gear in the back, 200 or 300 kilos of whatever. The engine is pretty grunty, but it's not exactly sporty, and there's not often you're left wondering that it is working away. It's a fairly gruff old unit, but it gets the job done. You've got loads of torque, which really helps, and really helps shifting what is a pretty chunky car. It does a decent job with that sort of stuff. Inside, it's all pretty basic, although it does work. You've got all the functionality you need in terms of instruments. Center console, the air conditioning controls, for example, brilliant, and plenty of storage, including this the pocket on top of the dash. A couple of things I'm not sold on. One is the location of the USB port. You've got to open the glove box and wrestle around with it to try and pop it in. It's not that easy to do on the run. The other thing is the reversing camera. You've got this big colour touchscreen in the middle, which you'd think would be perfect to display the camera on, but instead it goes up in the mirror. I'm loving that tray out the back though. It's the world's biggest boot. One day it's mountain bikes, the next maybe surf gear or whatever. It is surprisingly useful having such a big load area out the back there, and one you don't have to worry about keeping clean. Plus, you know you can fit everything in. Now, of course, one thing with the BT-50 is that it is largely shared with the Ford Ranger ute. The two come out of the same factory in Thailand. They share things like an engine, a chassis, basic suspension architecture, but of course have a different external appearance. And it's interesting when you start looking a bit more closely at some of the little Ford references here and there. Things like the FOMO stamps on the windows, even the leaf springs out the back. But the big challenge with the BT-50, at least from Wheels' perspective, is how it drives on the limit. This car is identical to the one we'll be taking in the Finke Desert Race. Now that race, for us anyway, is not going to be so much about raw speed and outright pace. It's more about suspension, reliability, durability, how it copes with some of the most punishing roads in the world. And that's where we're hoping this thing can shine. Between now and then though, it is regular, everyday ute stuff for this BT-50. The other one that I was living with previously, that's in the workshop getting prepared, and hopefully very soon heading off to the Northern Territory.